Hello dear students, welcome to Bajirao IAS Academy, the Hindu news analysis. So today is Wednesday, 17 July 2024, and we'll start this discussion by understanding some important articles which were given in today's newspapers. So before discussing all these important news articles, let's try to solve yesterday's given practice question, that is with respect to inflation. Right, so what does inflation actually means? So by simple definition, inflation means that there is a rise in the prices of commodities. So that is a simple definition of inflation, right? So general rise in prices of commodities or goods. So that is the very simplest definition of inflation. Right, so there are number of factors which causes inflation. Now, what are the causes of inflation? Now, when we talk about the causes of inflation, there are two types of causes. So one was a demand pull inflation, and the second category was cost push inflation and demand pull inflation. So in case demand of goods and services increases, then also the prices of goods would increase, and in case input costs increases because of internal and external factors, then also it would causes inflation. Now, what are the problems of the inflation? Why inflation is a concern? So with inflation, prices would increase significantly, and that would make the demand to decline, right? So if there are higher prices, that would significantly impact the demand in the economy. Now, when demand is impacted because of the higher prices of the commodities, industries will also reduce their production or production capacities, right? So they either shut down their existing industries, they will never expand their industries, or even they would fire employees, and that would lead to the increasing unemployment. Because so if there is a sustained levels of inflation for a longer periods of time, that would lead to the economic recession in any economy. So therefore, in order to prevent the economic depression or economic recession in any economy, so it is very important to address the negative consequences of the inflation through a set of measures, right? So what measures or what sort of measures that have to be adopted to control inflation, right? So these measures can be categorized into three different types. So one was monetary measures. So monetary measures essentially involves intervention by the Reserve Bank of India, physical measures, and also the other measures. Now, when we talk about the monetary measures, you very often heard about the repo rate and also the reverse repo rate. Repo rate and reverse repo rate are being used by RBI as an instrument to to prevent or to control inflation in the economy, right? So RBI increases the repo rate, reverse repo rate, and even bank rate, and even increase the statutory liquidity ratio and cash reserve ratio with the Reserve Bank, and statutory liquidity ratio with banks, and open market operations, buying and selling of government bonds, and even the demonetization. So all these monetary measures can effectively control inflation in the economy. So apart from that, there are some fiscal measures also that can be used to control the inflation in the economy, such as reduction in public expenditure, increase in taxes, increase in savings through compulsory saving schemes, and avoiding deficit financing. So all these factors comes under the fiscal measures to control inflation, and other measures include curbing black marketing, prevention of hoarding, suspending future trading, and even reducing the supply bottlenecks and rationing. So all these factors are being used to control inflation in economy. Now we'll get back to the question. The question is, which of the following measures that can be used to combat inflation? Now generally, one thing that you need to understand, in order to combat inflation, we need to reduce the money supply in the economy. So if we reduce the money supply in the economy, so we can bring prices under the control, right? So first option says that a reduction in the cash reserve ratio would control inflation. Now, as I have already told you that statutory liquidity ratio and cash reserve ratio are two monetary instruments to control inflation. Now here it says that reduction in the cash reserve ratio. Cash reserve ratio essentially means that every bank must keep a certain portion of their deposits in the Reserve Bank of India or with the Reserve Bank of India. So for example, imagine that there is a bank A and this particular bank A has 100 rupee of total deposits. Under CRR, RBI says that bank A must deposit 50 rupees with it as cash reserve ratio. Now if bank deposits 50 rupees out of 100 rupees with the Reserve Bank of India, it would left with the 50 rupees, and again 50 rupees, it cannot give 50 rupees to loans, because within 50 rupees there is also a statutory liquidity ratio and SLR requirement. Bank has to keep a certain portion within the remaining funds as a statutory liquidity ratio. For example, it says that reduction in the cash reserve ratio. So reduction in the cash reserve ratio actually means that, so RBI says no, you just keep 30 rupees with us instead of 50 rupees. Now bank has more funds to lend to the people in the economy or in the banking system. Whoever willing to borrow money from the bank now have more funds. So if bank give more loans, so that again increases the circulation of money in the economy, and that will not combat the inflation at all. So therefore this is incorrect statement. And second statement, providing more subsidies on exports, would also be the incorrect option, because providing more subsidies on exports would also increases money circulation in the economy. So therefore this is not an effective method to control inflation. However, third statement, if you look at the third statement, increasing the rate of interest on savings and fixed deposits. The essential objective here is that we need to control inflation by reducing the money in the circulation in the economy. So therefore, when government decided to increase interest rate on savings and fixed deposits, what happened? So people will start investing in the banking sector. So people will have a less disposable income in their hands. So therefore, it will help in squeezing out money out of the economy, and savings will increase, deposits will increase. So this is the most appropriate answer or most appropriate measures to control inflation. But third option, increasing the non-planned expenditure on defense. So it says that government increasing the expenditure in defense and police. So increasing expenditure essentially means that it again increases the money supply and money circulation in the economy. So therefore this is also not the correct answer. Option C is the correct answer for this question, right? So today also a very important practice question. This question was also asked previously. This is with respect to the science and technology, right? So Operation Shakti and Operation Smiling Buddha are related to which of the following things? So option A, combined operation against Naxalites, capture of Golden Temple, India's nuclear bomb test, and option D, fleeing Hindus and Buddhists from Afghanistan. So you have to answer this question in the comment section, and I will be giving you the correct answer for tomorrow's class. So this is also a very important question. Even if you have some basic idea about this, so you can answer this question without any doubt. So right, so try to answer this question. So we'll start this discussion by discussing about the first important article, that is with respect to India's battery technology race. Now why battery technology is very, very important? Now understand the context. The context is that why we have been recent times emphasizing on batteries or battery technologies, because we wanted to give a sustained push towards electric vehicle, and we wanted to introduce more and more electric vehicles onto the Indian roads by 2030, because so we have a number of climate obligations with respect to reduction in the emissions. So we wanted to reduce emissions as per Mission Panchamrut. or the Panchamrut mission that Prime Minister Narendra Modi announced in his Glasgow summit. So in order to reduce emissions, now one thing, emissions have been contributing to the carbon emissions into the atmosphere, and these carbon emissions into the atmosphere would further lead to the climate change. So therefore, all the countries across the world have determined to reduce climate change. So in order to reduce the climate change, we must reduce the emission intensity of our economies. However, fossil fuels have been contributing to the emissions, and they are also causing pollution along with increasing greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, right? So if you look at India has been importing around 85% of its total fossil fuels from the other countries, a huge dependence on fossil fuels. One thing is that we need to reduce our import dependency on the fossil fuels, and at the same time we should also prevent the negative impact that is emanating from the use of fossil fuels. So how can we do that? So we can do that by introducing electric vehicles replacing existing fossil fuel used engines in the vehicles, right? So we need to use electric vehicles, but these electric vehicles require electric batteries, and in order to make more powerful, more efficient electric batteries, we require a more efficient, more sustainable battery technology in India. So only then the electric vehicles would become more and more efficient over a period of time, and it would also increases consumer confidence about the electric vehicles. And that's why India has been making rapid strides with respect to the battery technology in recent times. So I hope you have understood the background why India wanted to promote electric vehicles. Now we will understand this particular article. So this article is that India has been focusing on a strategic investment of 1151 crore over the next 5 years. And in fact, it is believed that this particular strategic investment would give India a significant international lead, so with respect to the development of advanced technology in the battery manufacturing, battery design that can be used in the electric vehicles, right? So in order to manufacture electric vehicles domestically in India, we need to have a strong battery technology as well. We should not forget the role played by the strong battery technology. So to happen, we need to invest in strategic technologies such as battery technology, such as lithium ion batteries, etc. So for that particular reason, government has been planning to make a strategic investment. And in fact, the government has also unveiled e-mobility research and development roadmap over a period of next 1 decade or 5 years. And in fact, the e-mobility and research and development roadmap has actually break down the necessary steps that should be followed to achieve the advanced capabilities. So these advanced capabilities are very important for developing the batteries which are much more efficient, so which have a lot of capability, and they can be easily recharged whenever the owners of the electric vehicles required. So that is the one way through which we can substantially increase the confidence of consumers over the electric vehicles. So how can we increase the adoption of electric vehicles? One way is increasing the confidence of the consumers about the adoption of the electric vehicles. So for that to happen, we need to invest in batteries, and we need to develop more efficient and more sustainable batteries that can be recharged as quickly as possible, and we could also avoid accidents through such batteries. However, there are 4 broad areas that have to be considered with respect to the development of technology in batteries or developing battery technologies. So what are those 4 broad areas? One is energy storage cells and related technology, electric vehicle aggregators have to be brought together, materials and recycling, and even charging and refueling. Now when India has ambitious plans, grand plans about the electric vehicles, it wanted to introduce electric vehicles onto Indian roads. So it is very important that we need to have a strengthened and much more efficient charging and refueling infrastructure all over the country. Because imagine that a person, an individual purchases an electric vehicle, but there is no charging infrastructure on the roads all the way across India, then there is no point purchasing those electric vehicles. And because of that reason, it is very important to focus on these four broad areas to further give a much more required push to the introduction of electric vehicles. However, each of these broad areas would be further subdivided into number of projects. So therefore, when we divide them into number of projects, when we decentralize them, so it would be easier to adopt those technologies, or it would be easier to focus and concentrate those technologies in a much more efficient manner, right? So each project will have a timelines that would be ranging from 2 to 5 years to achieve a greater development of technologies in these fields individually. And in fact, the strategic roadmap that actually shows what specifically needs to be done. Okay, so we have a comprehensive strategic roadmap, and that shows what actually needs to be done over a period of time. So how can we become a leaders in the battery technology over a period of time? So that will be focused through a strategic roadmap. However, in the battery technologies, lithium batteries play a very important role. But when we talk about India's fleet of electric vehicles, so the India's fleet of electric vehicles as of now primarily dependent on imports of lithium batteries from other countries. So we have a huge import dependency on lithium based batteries from other countries. Rather, we need to invest in technology, and we need to make strategic investments in battery manufacturing, battery design and upgradation of these battery technologies, so that we can also produce more efficient lithium ion batteries in India itself, and we can reduce our import dependence from other countries. And in fact, so there were also announcements in recent times about a large lithium reserves in India, right? So it is found that India also hosts lithium reserves in different parts of India. For example, recent times, Jammu and Kashmir. So there was an announcement, there was a finding that Jammu and Kashmir also hosts lithium reserves. So it actually provides us a hope that so we will no longer dependent on other countries for importing lithium. And in fact, lithium is one of the critical mineral, and it is very important for the manufacturing of electric vehicles. And therefore, even though there are findings of these critical minerals, they are not yet exploited properly, but they have to be exploited sufficiently through government and and private sector participation, right? So in fact, mining of rare earth metals and even finding out any of those rare earth metal deposits across all parts of the country so is very important. So therefore, exploration and mining should be given adequate priority, particularly with respect to the critical minerals. That would reduces India's dependence on imports from other countries. So time and again we have already discussed that why the minerals, critical minerals, are very important for India's economy and India's industry. So with respect to the electric vehicles, in order to introduce electric vehicles in a phased manner on Indian roads, the government of India launched various programs, and one such program was FAME India program, right? So FAME India program essentially aimed at introduction of electric vehicles gradually through a phased manner onto the Indian roads, so that we could reduce vehicle which uses fossil fuels, because they are contributing to the climate change by releasing carbon into the atmosphere, and they are also the source of air pollution. So if you want, you can go through the details of the FAME India program as well. So next important topic that we are going to discuss is about India and Mauritius ties. So we will understand the context of this particular article. So the context is that recently External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar had a visit to Mauritius, and in that particular visit to Mauritius, External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar had said that India's consistent and continued support to Mauritius in its quest for progress and prosperity. So India would continues to support Mauritius in its quest for progress and prosperity in the coming years. So that indicates a strong cooperation and a strong partnership between two friendly countries. And when we talk about Mauritius, Mauritius is located in the southern Indian Ocean, south of India. So in fact, Mauritius is also one of the key partner for India in the Indian Ocean region. And in fact, Jaishankar, this visit to Mauritius is a 2-day visit. Okay, so in fact he said that it is a productive engagement, and in fact he talked with the Mauritius leader as well. So when we talk about India-Mauritius relations in a further in-depth manner, so bilateral relation with Mauritius actually serves as a role model for India's successful development in the collaboration abroad. So we can say that India's regular engagement with the Mauritius is a successful engagement with other countries. Particularly, see, Indian Ocean is very, very important for India. In the context of increasing Chinese presence in the Indian Ocean region and increasing importance of the Indo-Pacific as a new geostrategic construct. So therefore, India should engage with such like-minded nations in the Indian Ocean, and India should continue to be the net security provider in the Indian Ocean region as well. Now, this particular visit of External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar, so in Mauritius, 12 high impact community development projects were inaugurated. Now, when we talk about the high impact community development projects, it includes education. Right, so it actually includes education as an area. Now, apart from education, it also includes healthcare as well, education and healthcare. So therefore, not just education and healthcare, rather there are a number of aspects. There are number of aspects which are involved in the high impact community development projects, and that are funded by India. These community development projects are funded by India, and exchange of memorandum of understanding in the areas of education, culture, digitization of immigration archives, and collaboration in the field of space and innovation also. So apart from that, when we talk about the importance of this particular relationship for India with Mauritius, so we need to look at this relationship from different perspectives. Now, when I say from the different perspectives, India already launched this neighborhood first policy. Right, so we can say that since Mauritius is located in the Indian Ocean, and we can also say that it is little bit closer to India, so therefore we can further step up India's engagement with Mauritius through India's neighborhood first policy. We should not forget this. And neighborhood first policy essentially focuses on reciprocal engagement, non-reciprocal engagement with all of its neighboring countries. So how India has been acting as an elder brother to all its neighbors, and similar way in the Indian Ocean littoral countries also, because of their importance, so India should apply this neighborhood first policy. And there is also vision Sagar, security and growth for all in the region, especially the Indian Ocean region. And in fact, India is also the leader of the global south. So therefore, India's engagement with the Mauritius especially deals with the policies such as India's neighborhood first policy, vision Sagar, and commitment for the global south and all. Now, apart from that, there is a key reason for the special ties is the fact that when we talk about the Mauritius, in Mauritius, more than 70% of the total population are Indian origin, right? So 70% of Mauritius people present day Mauritius people are Indian origin. Around 1.2 million people are Indian origin, and that further brings Mauritius very close to India. So we will understand the commercial relations between India and Mauritius. Now when we talk about the commercial relations between India and Mauritius, so we need to look at it from trade, commerce and different other perspectives, right? So India has been one of the largest trading partners of Mauritius since the year 2005. Right, so from 2005 onwards, India has been one of the largest trading partners for Mauritius. And Indian exports to Mauritius in the financial year 22-23, so it amounts to US dollars 462.69 million, right? So it actually amounts to 469 to 62 to 69 million. And when we talk about Mauritius exports into India, it amounts to 91.50 million of total exports. So combined trade or the total trade between these two countries amounts to 554.19 million. And when we talk about the growth in trade between India and Mauritius, so we can say that last 17 years the trade between two countries grown to 132%, right? So almost 132% increase in the bilateral trade between these two countries. So it is definitely a positive development, but trade not yet reached its full potential. So it is important that we need to explore areas of bilateral cooperation, or we need to explore the areas where India has a competitive edge with respect to Mauritius, and we need to further enhance the trade with Mauritius, and we should also reach the full potential of trade between these two countries. Now when we talk about the trading agreements between India and Mauritius, so both countries already signed the comprehensive economic cooperation and partnership agreement in the year 2021. So it was very new, because in in 2021 itself both India and Mauritius have signed comprehensive economic cooperation and partnership agreement, right? So in fact this is the first trade agreement signed by India with an African country. You should also remember this, because with any African country, so this particular trade pact was a first trade pact for India. And another significant development in recent times was in 2024 a unified payment interface, so which is also known as UPI, and even RuPay services of India were also launched in Mauritius, and this is also one of the very significant development with respect to India and Mauritius relations. And now you can clearly see that this is India, and this is the location of Mauritius in the southern Indian Ocean, right? So Mauritius is also very closely located to the Madagascar island and even the eastern coast of Africa, right? So it is about India and Mauritius relations. And next important article is with respect to Chandipur virus infection. So this is a new viral infection that has been claiming the lives in recent times. So we will understand this Chandipura virus infection. What does this Chandipura viral infection? So recently Gujarat government declared that 6 children have died of this suspected Chandipura virus infection, right? So since July 10, so far 10 children have died because of Chandipura virus infection. So in fact total 12 suspected cases of this particular virus have also reported in recent times. Now we will understand what exactly is this Chandipura virus, and then we will go into the details of this virus. And this Chandipura virus was named after a Chandipura village in Bandara district. That was where it was first reported in 1965. Okay, so it was first reported in Bandara district in Maharashtra. So it was named after a village called Chandipura. So how is it transmitted? So it will transmitted, it is actually transmitted through hosts, number of hosts. For example, human beings get the virus from sand fly, which actually thrives in the cattle sheds, right? So it transmits the virus when these flies bite human beings during the night time. And when we talk about the treatment of this Chandipura viral disease, there is no vaccine available for this particular disease. Hence, disease is treated symptomatically. Now, what does it mean when any disease is treated through symptomatically? That essentially means that these symptoms can be treated with different medicines, but Chandipura virus on its own does not have any specific medicine or vaccine. So if we go into the details of this Chandipura viral disease, so this particular virus belongs to Rhabdoviridae family. And this particular Rhabdoviridae family, other viruses such as Lassa virus that actually causes rabies belong to this Rhabdoviridae family. And in fact, there are number of other species such as sand flies, and sand flies specifically Philobotomine sandflies and Philobotomus papatis. So some mosquito species such as Aedes aegypti. So they actually being a vectors, or they are also considered as a vectors for this Chandipura viral disease, right? So they are considered as a vector to the Chandipura viral disease. And in fact, this particular virus resides in the salivary glands of these insects. Okay, so because these insects act as a hosts for this particular Chandipura virus, so therefore very often this virus resides in the glands of these insects, and they can be transmitted to human beings and other vertebrates like domestic animals through bites. And in fact, whenever these sand flies bite human beings, they can transmit this Chandipura virus into human beings. Now, once these sand flies or other insects transmit the virus into human beings, what happened? So the virus can easily reach the central nervous system, right? So it would easily reach the central nervous system, so that can further lead to the encephalitis inflammation. Okay, so encephalitis and inflammation of the active tissues of the brain. Now when we talk about the encephalitis, so encephalitis will lead to the inflammation of the active tissues of the brain. So that will be the condition so which is developed with respect to the Chandipura viral infection. So however, when we talk about the symptoms of this Chandipura viral infection, there are number of symptoms such as acute onset of fever, body ache, headache, and it then progresses to altered sensorium or seizures, and even encephalitis also. So encephalitis actually means that the inflammation of the active tissues of the brain, right? So therefore number of those symptoms that can be caused by this particular virus. Okay, so Chandipura viral infection first isolated in 1965 while there was investigations taking place with respect to dengue and chikungunya outbreak in the state of Maharashtra, and during this particular investigation the Chandipura viral infection was identified for the first time. So however, one of the most significant outbreaks of this Chandipura viral infection disease in India took place in the year 2003 and 4 in several states such as Maharashtra, Northern Gujarat and Andhra Pradesh. And in fact, 3 states reporting more than 300 deaths of children who have infected with this Chandipura viral infection. So therefore it is particularly a cause of concern. Why? Because it does not have any specific medicine, it does not have a vaccine, only symptoms can be treatable. So because of that reason it is particularly a concern. So therefore the administration need to take adequate measures in cooperation with the respective state governments. So next important article is with respect to a 50% quota for locals in the management positions in the private sector, and this particular quota bill is passed by Karnataka in its legislative assembly. And in fact it is not the first state so which has reservations in the private employment for local people. Rather, before also states like Maharashtra, Haryana, Andhra Pradesh and even Madhya Pradesh have passed such legislation reserving jobs for the locals to deal with the increasing levels of unemployment. So we will understand the context of this particular article. The context is that Karnataka cabinet has cleared a bill which has been mandating that the private industries and factories and other establishments within the Karnataka should appoint local candidates in 50% of the management positions and 70% in non-management positions. So this essentially means that reservation of jobs, the private sector jobs for the local candidates. However, the question is, doesn't it violate Article 19 of the Indian Constitution, where everyone have the right to move to any part of the country and take up employment in any part of the country? So if jobs are reserved for the local candidates, so then that particular right is being violated, and it is also raised, this issue is also raised in number of high courts and even the Supreme Courts also, right? So who will be the eligible candidate under this Karnataka 50% quota for the management positions? Now, if you look at the eligibility criteria of the Karnataka government, so any person who is the resident of Karnataka state or who is born in the Karnataka and who domiciled in the Karnataka state for a period of 15 years. And in fact, that particular person must be capable of speaking, reading and even writing Kannada in a legible way, and he even passed a required test which will be conducted by the nodal agency. So that particular individual would be considered as a local individual, and he would be eligible for the appointment in the management positions in the industries, factories and other establishments within the Kerala. In case if qualified and suitable local candidates are not available as per the above criteria, so what should be the other criteria? So the criteria is that industries and establishments in collaboration with the government will identify the candidates, and they will also take necessary steps to train local candidates within the 3 years and will then give them the employment opportunities in their establishments. Other than that, so non-locals will not get adequate employment in the state of Karnataka. And in fact, the percentage of local candidates should not go below 25% with respect to the management positions, and it should not go 50% in non-management categories. So this particular bill essentially aimed at reservation of jobs in the private sector for the locals of the state of Karnataka. As I have already told you before also, there were number of states which actually passed laws. For example, when we talk about Maharashtra also passed a legislation to reserve 80% of jobs in the private sector for people who belong to the state of Maharashtra. However, it is not yet implemented. And even Gujarat also reserved 85% of total jobs for the locals in industries. Okay, so you can go through all these states which have come up with different quotas for the locals who belong to that particular state. So next important article is PM Shri schools. Now we will understand what exactly is this PM Shri schools. The context is that central government, so in order to PM Shri schools is a scheme that was launched by the central government to improve, enhance the quality of education or to provide quality of education for the students, right? So learning should be in a healthy environment. Learning should take place in a healthy environment and also focused on enhancing the learning outcomes among the children. So therefore, that is the objective of PM Shri schools. But why it is in news? So why it is in news? It is because of some reason. Some reason is that center refused to provide funding to certain states who refused to implement PM Shri schools program. So we will understand that center has stopped funding for the umbrella program of school education. So we can say that this is an umbrella program for the school education, but center has stopped funding for this umbrella program of school education in 3 different opposition ruled states. And these 3 different opposition state ruled have refused to implement this particular PM Shri schools scheme. And in fact, the Samagra Shiksha scheme, for which funding has been stopped in West Bengal, Punjab, Delhi, so it actually supports implementation of the right to free and compulsory education of 2009. Now we will understand about this PM Shri scheme. Now what exactly is this PM Shri scheme? Now PM Shri scheme is a centrally sponsored scheme launched by the government of India. Right, so in order to implement the vision of National Education Policy 2020, the government has launched Pradhan Mantri Schools for Rising India, that is PM Shri. Okay, so to make India a vibrant knowledge society through Pradhan Mantri Schools for Rising India program. In fact, this particular initiative intended to develop more than 14,500 schools all across India. So that includes states, union territories, local bodies, Kasturba, Kendriya Vidyalayas, etc. And apart from that, so exemplar schools will be developed under this particular program, having all components which are mandated by the new National Education Policy of 2020. And in fact, so when we talk about the PM Shri schools that the central government aimed to establish, so it will develop leadership skills among the children by making the existing learning environment more joyful, more friendly for the students, and it will also showcase the implementation of National Education Policy through a unique, experimental and holistic and through a learner centric pedagogy. So all these methods are being used as part of the PM Shri program, and in fact it will also benefit lakhs of students across India. So so that is the objective of this PM Shri program. So that's all in this lecture, and thank you so much for being with us. And if you like our work, please subscribe our YouTube channel and also hit the like button. Thank you.